The stars were peaceful in the Cathani system. They had been peaceful for over 3,000 years. Dr. Veltar moved slowly through the crystal halls of the monitoring station, their 6 legs clicking softly on the smooth floor. The sound was musical, like everything else in their world. Veltar was tall and thin with skin that looked like polished silver. Their large eyes were designed to see the beauty in all things. Like all Cathani, they had never known violence. Their people had grown beyond such primitive things long ago. The communication center was quiet. It was always quiet. The Galactic Union had been at peace for so long that most species had forgotten what war even meant. Trade ships moved between the stars. Scientists shared knowledge. Artists created beauty that could be seen from space. This was how intelligent life was supposed to be. But today, something was different. A small light blinked on the long-range scanner. Veltar moved closer to look. The machine was picking up a signal from far away. Very far away. The computer said it came from the outer edge of the galaxy, where no one lived. The signal was weak and broken, but it was definitely made by intelligent beings. Veltar felt excited. A new species meant new friends, new knowledge, new art to share. They started the translation computer and waited. The machine was very advanced. It could understand any language given enough time. Veltar had used it to talk with dozens of species over the years. But this signal was strange. The computer kept stopping and starting. Words appeared on the screen, then disappeared. The machine seemed confused. After many hours, the first words came through clearly. "This is Earth. We need help. They are coming to kill us all." Veltar stepped back from the screen. The words made no sense. Who would want to kill anyone, and why? In the Galactic Union, problems were solved with talking, not killing. More words appeared. "The swarm ships are everywhere. We have been fighting for 3 months. Our cities are burning. Send help if anyone can hear this. Fighting? Burning cities." Veltar felt sick. They had studied ancient history. They knew that long ago some species had hurt each other, but that was before civilization. Before peace, the computer kept working on the signal. More words came through. "We are the human race. Our planet is called Earth. We will not surrender. We will fight until our last breath. But if we fall, warn the galaxy. The Vorthak are coming for everyone." Veltar had never heard of humans or Vorthak. They searched the Union database. Nothing. These were completely unknown species. But the name Vorthak made them feel cold inside. Even the computer seemed to have trouble with that word. When it tried to translate the full meaning, the screen showed the Devourers, the endless hunger, the death of worlds. Veltar called the Union Council immediately. The council met on the beautiful world of Harmony Prime. Representatives from 23 species gathered in the Great Crystal Dome. They were all peaceful people. Plant-eaters, mostly. Their worlds were gardens among the stars. Council leader Zephyra was old and wise. Her people, the Serenity, looked like walking trees with golden leaves. She had guided the Union for 50 years of perfect peace. "This signal troubles me," she said after hearing Veltar's report. "These humans speak of war as if it is normal, as if they expect it." Dr. Minoth from the Science Council was worried about something else. "I checked our star maps. This Earth is in a region we marked as uninhabitable. The computer calls it a Class 12 death world." Gasps filled the council chamber. Everyone knew about death worlds. They were planets where everything tried to kill everything else. Poison air, deadly storms, monsters that ate each other. No intelligent life could exist on such worlds. "Perhaps the computer made an error," suggested Zephyra. "I checked 3 times, said Minoth. "Earth has massive storms, poisonous gases in the air, temperature changes that would kill most of us, and gravity so strong it would crush our bones. Nothing should be able to live there, especially not intelligent beings." The council talked for hours. Some members wanted to ignore the signal. Others wanted to study it more. A few suggested sending a message back, but Earth was too far away. It would take months for any communication to reach them. Finally, Dr. Veltar spoke up. "What if these humans know something we don't? What if living on a death world taught them how to survive things we cannot? If these Vorthak are real, if they really destroy worlds, then maybe we need to learn from people who know how to fight them." "Fighting is primitive," said Council Member Kelana from the Beautiful Ones. "Intelligent beings solve problems with words, not violence." But what if words don't work?" asked Veltar. What if these Vorthak don't want to talk? The council fell silent. In 3,000 years of peace, they had never faced a problem that couldn't be solved with patience and understanding. Council leader Zephyra made the decision. We will send a small research ship. Not to fight, but to study. If these humans still exist when we arrive, we will try to understand them. If they are gone, we will learn what destroyed them. And if we find these Vorthak, asked someone, then we will do what we have always done. We will talk to them. We will find out what they want. We will make peace. Dr. Veltar was chosen to lead the mission. They picked a small crew of scientists and diplomats. No weapons were brought because the Union had no weapons. They had no soldiers because they had no enemies. The ship Harmony's song was beautiful like everything the Union made. It was built for exploration and research, not war. Its hull was white and smooth, decorated with patterns that showed the peaceful nature of its builders. As they prepared to leave, Veltar read the human signal one more time. New parts had been decoded. If anyone receives this message, know that Earth stood firm. We are children of a harsh world, but we will not let evil pass. We fight not just for ourselves, but for all life in the galaxy. If we fall, remember us. If we win, come find us. There is always room at our table for friends. The message was strange. It spoke of fighting and war, but also of friendship and protection. It talked about death, but also about hope. Veltar couldn't understand how these ideas fit together. The journey to Earth would take 2 months. During that time, the crew studied everything they could about Deathworlds and the species that might live on them. What they learned frightened them. On Deathworlds, life was always in danger. Creatures had to be strong, fast, and smart just to survive. They had to compete for food and shelter. Some had to hunt and kill to eat. The computer model suggested that any intelligent life from such a world would be aggressive, violent, and dangerous. Maybe we should turn back, suggested Dr. Finara, the ship's psychologist. If these humans are products of a death world, they might be too dangerous to contact. But Veltar couldn't forget the words in the message. The humans had asked for help for others, not just themselves. They spoke of protecting life, not destroying it. Maybe, just maybe, death world life wasn't all bad. As Harmony's song flew through the dark between stars, Veltar wondered what they would find at Earth. Would they discover new friends or new nightmares? Would the humans still be alive? Or would they find only the ashes of a dead world? The answers waited in the darkness ahead, where unknown ships fought an enemy that called itself the hunger that devours worlds. 2 months later, Harmony's song dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Earth system. What Dr. Veltar saw through the ship's sensors made their silver skin turn pale. The system was full of ships, but not the kind they knew. These vessels were dark and wrong. They looked like they had grown instead of being built. Long, twisted shapes with surfaces that seemed to pulse like living skin. The computer counted over 50 of them, each one larger than any Union ship. "Those must be the Vorthak," whispered Dr. Finara. "They look like diseases made into ships. But there were other ships, too, smaller ones that moved fast and sharp between the alien monsters. These ships were clearly built by intelligent minds, but they were nothing like Union vessels. Where Union ships were smooth and beautiful, these were angular and hard. They bristled with things that could only be weapons. "Those must be the human ship," said Veltar. "They're still fighting." Captain Zilnara, a gentle being from the Peaceful Waters people, stared at the battle happening before them. "How are they still alive? Those Vorthak ships are 10 times larger." The crew watched in shock as a small human ship flew straight at one of the enormous alien vessels. Instead of firing from a safe distance like any sensible being would do, the human ship got closer and closer until it actually touched the enemy ship. "What are they doing?" gasped Dr. Finara. The answer came in a flash of light. The human ship exploded, taking a large piece of the Vorthak vessel with it. The alien ship spun away, badly damaged. "They killed themselves," whispered Captain Zilnara. "They flew their own ship into the enemy and died." "But why?" asked Veltar. "That makes no sense. Dead beings cannot fight anymore." Before anyone could answer, their communication system came alive. A voice spoke in the language they had learned from the distress signal. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. You're in a combat zone. Identify yourself or prepare to be fired upon." Dr. Veltar quickly activated the translation system. "This is Dr. Veltar of the Galactic Union research ship Harmony's Song. We received your distress call. We have come to help. There was a long silence. Then the human voice came back, but it sounded different, surprised. You came all this way because of our message? How many ships did you bring? Ships? We brought one ship. This ship. Another silence. Then something that sounded like laughter, but bitter. One ship. Well, I guess that's better than nothing. Can you fight? Fight? No, we don't fight. We are scientists and diplomats. We came to study the situation and perhaps negotiate with the Vorthak. Negotiate? The human voice was sharp now. Lady, these things don't negotiate, they eat. They consume everything living and move on to the next world. We've been fighting them for 3 months and talking isn't on their menu. Dr. Veltar felt confused. But surely all intelligent life can be reasoned with. Perhaps they simply don't understand that violence is wrong. This time the human definitely laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Tell you what, Doc, you try talking to them. We'll keep the bastards busy while you give it a shot. The human ship that had been speaking to them suddenly accelerated toward a group of Vorthak vessels. Veltar watched as weapons fired from both sides. The human ship was much smaller, but it moved like a living thing, dodging and weaving between enemy fire. Patch me through to the Vorthak, Veltar told their communications officer. Dr. Melona worked at the controls. I'm getting something, but it's not like any language I've ever heard. It's more like screaming. The sound that came through the speakers made everyone on the bridge feel sick. It wasn't words. It was hunger and hatred and endless want. When the translation computer tried to make sense of it, only a few concepts came through. Consume, devour, feed, grow, spread. Turn it off, said Captain Zilnara, holding her head. That's not communication. That's madness. Commander Chen was right, said Veltar quietly. These beings don't think like us. They can't be reasoned with. The human voice came back on the radio. How did that go, Doc? Not well, Veltar admitted. They don't seem interested in talking. No kidding. Look, we need to get you out of here. This is about to get very hot and you don't look like you're built for combat. Wait, said Veltar. We want to understand. How are you fighting them? How are you still alive? You want the full tour? Fine, follow us but stay back, and try not to get eaten. The human ship led them to a larger vessel that was clearly a command ship. It was scarred and patched, showing signs of many battles. As Harmony Song docked with it, Veltar noticed that even the docking bay was different from anything they knew. Instead of the smooth, peaceful designs of Union ships, this place was built for efficiency and speed. Commander Sarah Chen met them at the airlock. She was smaller than Veltar had expected, but there was something about her that made the alien scientist step back. Her eyes were sharp and alert, constantly moving. Her body was tense, ready to move quickly. She looked like she expected danger at any moment. Welcome to the Defiant, she said. Sorry about the mess, but we've been a little busy. The ship was indeed messy by Union standards. The walls were covered with screens showing battle information. People moved quickly through the corridors carrying weapons and supplies. Everyone looked tired, but their eyes burned with something Veltar didn't recognize. You've been fighting for 3 months? Asked Dr. Finara. 3 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days, said Chen, but who's counting? How many of your people have died? Chen's face went hard. Too many. But we're still here and they're not taking Earth. She led them to a room where other humans were gathered around a large table covered with maps and charts. These humans all had the same look as Chen, tired but fierce. This is my command staff, Chen said. Colonel Martinez, our ground forces commander. Admiral Walsh, fleet operations. Dr. Patel, our science officer. Each human nodded at the aliens, but Veltar noticed that none of them fully relaxed. They kept watching the doors, listening to the sounds of the ship. They were ready for battle at any moment. We need to understand, said Veltar. How do you fight being so much larger than you? Colonel Martinez spoke up. He was a big human with scars on his face. We do what we've always done. We adapt. We use their size against them. What do you mean? Dr. Patel answered. She was smaller than the others, but her eyes were just as sharp. The Vorthak are powerful, but they're not smart in the way we are. They think like a hive. They don't expect individual initiative. We board their ships, said Admiral Walsh. We get inside and fight them in their own corridors. They don't know how to handle small, fast opponents who think for themselves. Veltar was horrified. You go inside their ships? Where they can surround you? Where they can't use their big guns, corrected Chen. Look, these things are used to overwhelming firepower in numbers. They've probably never faced anyone who was willing to get up close and personal. But that's so dangerous. You could die. The humans looked at each other. Then Chen spoke quietly. Doc, we're going to die anyway if we don't stop them here. They'll eat our world, then move on to the next one, and the next one after that. If dying means other worlds stay safe, then that's a price we're willing to pay. This was the moment Veltar began to understand. These humans weren't just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for everyone. They were willing to die to protect people they had never met. But there must be another way, said Dr. Finara. Violence is never the answer. Colonel Martinez laughed, but it wasn't cruel. Lady, sometimes violence is the only answer. When someone is trying to kill your family, you don't talk to them. You stop them. Family? Asked Veltar. Chen gestured toward a screen showing Earth. The planet was beautiful, blue and green and white. 7 billion people down there. My daughter is one of them. She's 8 years old and she likes to draw pictures of flowers. If the Vorthak get through us, she doesn't get to grow up. Veltar stared at the screen. 7 billion. The entire Galactic Union only had 3 billion people total across 23 worlds. You have 7 billion people on one planet? We breed fast, said Chen with a tired smile. Comes from living on a world that's trying to kill you. You learn to make the most of your time. An alarm sounded throughout the ship. Admiral Walsh looked at a screen and swore. Major attack incoming. 40 Vorthak ships heading straight for Earth. Chen turned to Veltar. You wanted to see how we fight? You're about to get a front row seat. The battle that followed changed everything Dr. Veltar thought they knew about war. From the bridge of the Defiant, Veltar watched as the human fleet moved to meet the Vorthak attack. The alien ships were massive, dark things that looked like floating nightmares. But the humans didn't run. They didn't try to negotiate. They flew straight toward certain death with what could only be called eagerness. All ships, this is Admiral Walsh, came the voice over the communication system. Remember the doctrine. Make them pay for every inch. No retreat, no surrender. Earth stands behind us. What is this doctrine they speak of? Asked Dr. Finara. Commander Chen looked at the alien scientist with something that might have been pity. The Death World doctrine. It's how we survive when everyone else thinks we should be dead. On the main screen, the first wave of human ships hit the Vorthak formation. What Veltar saw made no sense by any military theory they knew. The humans didn't stay back and fire at long range. They flew directly into the enemy formation, weaving between the massive alien ships like tiny fish swimming around whales. They're getting too close, gasped Captain Zilnara. The Vorthak will destroy them. Watch, said Chen quietly. A human ship called the Rampart flew directly under one of the largest Vorthak vessels. Instead of firing at the heavy armor on top, it aimed all its weapons at the soft belly of the alien ship. Explosions rippled along the Vorthak's underside. But then the alien ship began to turn, bringing its own weapons to bear on the tiny human vessel. Veltar closed their eyes, expecting to see the Rampart destroyed. Instead, they heard Chen's voice. Rampart, you've got incoming. Execute Plan 7. Copy that, Admiral. Plan 7 it is. The Rampart didn't try to escape. Instead, it flew even closer to the Vorthak ship. So close that the alien's own weapons couldn't target it without hitting itself. Brilliant, whispered Dr. Patel. The Vorthak can't fire at close range without damaging their own ship. Then Veltar saw something that made their silver skin turn white. Human soldiers in spacesuits were leaving the Rampart and flying toward the Vorthak ship. They were going to board it. That's impossible, said Dr. Finara. No one can survive in open space like that. We can, said Colonel Martinez with pride. For a while anyway. Long enough to get the job done. The humans landed on the alien ship's hull and began cutting their way inside with tools that shot controlled fire. Within minutes, explosions began erupting from inside the Vorthak vessel. What are they doing in there? Asked Veltar. Finding the ship's brain, said Chen. Every Vorthak ship has a central control node. Destroy that and the whole ship goes dead. More human ships were executing similar attacks. They would get close, board the enemy vessels, and destroy them from the inside. It was insane by any logical standard, but it was working. But what about the humans who board the ships? Asked Veltar. How do they get back? Chen's face went hard. Some do, some don't. That's the price we pay. Dr. Finara looked horrified. You send your people to die? We send our people to fight, corrected Colonel Martinez. Death is a risk, not a goal. But if it takes my life to save 1 billion others, that's not even a choice. Veltar began to understand something terrible and beautiful. These humans valued their own lives, but they valued other lives more. They would die to protect strangers. It was the most alien concept the peaceful scientist had ever encountered. On the screen, a new wave of Vorthak ships appeared. But this time the aliens had learned. They were staying farther apart, making it harder for human ships to get close. "They're adapting," said Admiral Walsh, switching to Formation Delta. "What is Formation Delta?" asked Veltar. Chen smiled, and for the first time it wasn't a sad smile. "Something we learned from Earth's predators. Pack hunting." The human ships suddenly split into small groups. Each group targeted a single Vorthak vessel, attacking from different directions at once. The aliens couldn't defend against attacks coming from all sides. But what really shocked Veltar was what happened when one of the human ships was damaged. Instead of retreating to safety, the other ships in its pack moved to protect it. They formed a wall of their own bodies between the wounded ship and the enemy. "They're protecting each other," whispered Dr. Finn Ara. "Pack loyalty," said Dr. Patel. "We don't leave anyone behind if we can help it. Sometimes we'll risk 5 ships to save one, but that's not efficient," protested Veltar. "You're risking many lives for few." "Efficiency isn't everything," said Chen. "Morale is. Trust is. When my people know I'll move heaven and earth to bring them home, they'll follow me anywhere, including into the mouth of hell." The battle raged for 3 hours. When it was over, the Vorthak had lost 20 ships. The humans had lost 8. By any mathematical analysis, it should have been impossible. "How?" asked Veltar. "How do you win against odds like that?" Chen led them to a room where wounded human soldiers were being treated. Veltar expected to see despair and defeat. Instead, they saw something else entirely. The wounded humans were talking and laughing with each other. They shared food and water. They helped treat each other's injuries. Some were badly hurt, but their eyes still burned with that strange fire Veltar had noticed before. "That's how," said Chen. "The Vorthak fight as a hive. When part of the hive is damaged, it becomes a weakness. When one of us is hurt, the rest of us become stronger. We fight for each other." Dr. Patel brought over a young human soldier whose arm was in a cast. "This is Lieutenant Torres. Tell them about the boarding action, Maria." Torres was small, even by human standards. She looked like she should be studying in a library, not fighting in space, but her eyes had the same sharp alertness as the others. "We got inside the Vorthak ship through a breach in the hull," she said. "The interior was like a nightmare. Dark, wet, covered in things that looked like growing organs. The gravity was wrong and the air was poison." "How did you survive?" asked Dr. Finara. Torres held up a device that covered her nose and mouth. "Environmental suit and combat drugs. The drugs help us function in conditions that would kill us normally." "Combat drugs?" Dr. Patel explained. "Chemical compounds that enhance human performance under stress. They increase strength, speed, and pain tolerance. They also suppress fear." Veltar was shocked. "You use chemicals to make yourselves less afraid." "Not less afraid," corrected Torres. "More functional while afraid. Fear is useful. It keeps you alive, but sometimes you need to act despite being afraid." "What happened inside the alien ship?" Torres's face went dark. "We found their control room, but we also found something else. Holding cells full of creatures from other worlds. The Vorthak don't just kill, they capture specimens to study and experiment on." The aliens from Harmony's song felt sick. "They take prisoners?" "Not prisoners," said Chen grimly. "Food sources. Living food that they keep fresh until they're ready to consume it." This changed everything. Veltar had thought the Vorthak were simply aggressive, but this was worse. They were cruel. They caused suffering for its own sake. "Now you understand why we fight the way we do," said Colonel Martinez. "This isn't just war. It's extermination. They won't stop with Earth. They'll spread across the galaxy, consuming everything in their path." "But your methods are so violent," protested Dr. Finara. "Surely there must be a more peaceful way." Torres laughed bitterly. "Lady, I used to be a teacher. I taught kindergarten kids how to read. I never wanted to hurt anyone. But when I saw what the Vorthak did to those prisoners..." She trailed off, then continued quietly. "Some things are worth fighting for. Some things are worth killing for. And some things need to be stopped no matter the cost." Admiral Walsh's voice came over the ship's communication system. "All hands, prepare for incoming transmission. We're getting a message from Earth." The main screen showed a man in a military uniform sitting in what looked like a bunker. Behind him, Veltar could see other humans working frantically at computers and communication devices. "This is General Harrison, commanding Earth Defense Command." "Admiral Walsh, how did we do?" 20 Vorthak ships destroyed, sir. We lost 8 of our own. Acceptable losses. What about our guests? Chen stepped forward. "The Union representatives are unharmed, sir. They've been observing our operations." General Harrison looked directly at the camera, and Veltar felt those sharp human eyes studying them across space. "Dr. Veltar, I presume? I hope you've learned something useful today." "We have learned much, General Harrison, but we still do not understand how you maintain morale when you suffer such losses." Harrison smiled, but it was the same sad smile Veltar had seen on other human faces. "Doctor, let me show you something." The screen changed to show a view of Earth from space. The planet was beautiful, but Veltar could see the scars of war. Dark spots where cities had been attacked, smoke rising from damaged areas. But there were also lights. Millions and millions of lights showing where people still lived and hoped. 7 billion people, Doctor. My wife is down there somewhere, probably helping to treat wounded soldiers. My son is 13 and he's been volunteering to carry messages between shelters. Every person on this planet knows that if we fail, they die. Not just die, they get eaten alive by monsters from the dark. The general paused, then continued. "You ask how we maintain morale? We remember what we're fighting for. We remember that every minute we hold them back is another minute for children to grow. 3 days after the battle, everything changed. Dr. Veltar was in the medical bay of the Defiant, watching human doctors treat wounded soldiers. The aliens were amazed by human medicine. Where Union healing focused on comfort and slow recovery, human medicine was designed for speed and function. They had soldiers back on duty within hours of being injured. Your medical technology is remarkable, said Dr. Finara to Dr. Sarah Kim, the ship's chief medical officer. We've had a lot of practice, Kim replied grimly. When you live on a world where everything tries to kill you, you get good at fixing damage quickly. That's when the alarm started screaming. Admiral Walsh's voice echoed through the ship. All hands to battle stations. Long-range sensors are picking up massive movement in deep space. This is not a drill. Commander Chen rushed into the medical bay, her face pale. Doc, you need to see this. All of you. They followed her to the main bridge where the command staff was gathered around a huge display screen. What Veltar saw made their silver skin turn white with fear. The screen showed a map of nearby space, with thousands of red dots moving toward Earth. The computer was counting them. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 ships. The entire Vorthak fleet, whispered Dr. Patel. Every ship they have is coming here. How many? Asked Chen. Current count is 4,763 vessels, reported the sensor operator. Still counting. The bridge fell silent. The humans had fought bravely against 50 ships. They had won against 100 ships. But nearly 5,000? It was impossible. How long until they arrive? Asked Admiral Walsh. 18 hours at current speed, Colonel Martinez spoke quietly. We have maybe 200 ships left that can fight. Even if we could destroy 10 of theirs for every one of ours. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The math was simple and horrible. Commander Chen looked at the screen for a long moment. Then she turned to her communication officer. Send a message to all Earth colonies. Emergency Protocol 7, all of them, ma'am. Every single one. It's time, Dr. Veltar didn't understand. What is Emergency Protocol 7? Chen looked at the alien scientist with something that might have been pity. You're about to find out what humans are really capable of when we stop holding back. The message went out on frequencies Veltar had never heard before. It was short and simple. This is Admiral Chen, Earth Defense Command. The enemy is coming in force. All colonies, all ships, all stations. Emergency Protocol 7 is now in effect. Come home. It's time to show these bastards what happens when you threaten Earth. For hours, nothing seemed to happen. The Vorthak fleet continued its approach. Human defenders prepared for a battle they couldn't win. Some ships began evacuating civilians from Earth's orbital stations. But Veltar noticed that the humans weren't acting like people facing certain death. They were working with calm efficiency. They checked their weapons. They reviewed battle plans. They said goodbye to loved ones. But they didn't despair. How can you be so calm? Asked Dr. Finara. You're facing impossible odds. Are we? Asked Chen with a strange smile. That's when the first response came. Earth Defense Command, this is the revenge of Mars. We heard the call. coming home with 97 ships and a lot of attitude. Then another. This is the Europa Mining Consortium. We've got 43 ships armed and ready. Nobody messes with our homeworld. And another. Asteroid Station Series reporting. 60 ships ready for action. Let's dance. More and more voices joined the radio chatter. Ships from mining stations, exploration fleets, research outposts, and colonies Veltar had never heard of. They came from asteroids, moons, and the dark spaces between planets. How many colonies do you have? Asked Veltar in amazement. We've been spreading out for 300 years, said Dr. Patel. Humans don't like putting all their eggs in one basket. We learned that lesson from Earth's history. The numbers kept growing. 100 ships. 200. 500. 1,000. Impossible, whispered Captain Zilnara. No species spreads that fast. Most species don't come from Deathworlds, said Colonel Martinez. We're good at surviving in places other people think are uninhabitable. By the time the count stopped, over 2,000 human ships had answered the call. They came from every corner of the solar system and beyond. Some were warships built in hidden shipyards. Others were converted mining vessels and cargo haulers. All of them were crewed by humans who had grown up in the harsh environments of space. Admiral Walsh studied the tactical display. It's still not enough. They outnumber us more than 2 to 1. Numbers aren't everything, said Chen. Remember what we learned fighting the first wave. The Vorthak think like a hive. They don't expect individual initiative. We're going to use that against them. She turned to the communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. You know what they've done. You know what they plan to do. Today we don't just fight for Earth. We fight for every world that comes after us. Make them remember this day. Make them regret ever hearing the name human. The response came back from 2,000 ships. Understood, Admiral. Let's make them pay. The Vorthak fleet arrived exactly on schedule. They came out of faster-than-light travel in a massive formation that blocked out the stars. Their ships were even more horrible up close, living nightmares of dark. Metal and pulsing flesh, but they weren't expecting what they found waiting for them. The human fleet was spread out across the entire system. Ships hid behind asteroids in the shadows of moons and in the dark between planets. When the Vorthak began their approach to Earth, humans attacked from everywhere at once. All ships execute Operation Deathworld, ordered Admiral Chen. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a masterpiece of coordinated violence. Human ships appeared from hiding spots throughout the system, hitting the Vorthak fleet from dozens of directions. But these weren't the desperate defenders the aliens expected. These were void-born humans who had spent their entire lives in space. They flew their ships like extensions of their own bodies. The Revenge of Mars led a squadron of mining ships against the Vorthak left flank. Their cutting tools, designed to slice through asteroids, proved devastatingly effective against alien armor. Ships from the outer colonies used tactics no civilized species would consider. They flew through fields of space debris, using chunks of rock and metal as shields and weapons. They hid in the shadows of planets, striking without warning. They're fighting like pirates, observed Dr. Finara. They're fighting like humans, corrected Chen. The Europa fleet demonstrated something called ice mining techniques. They used their ships' cargo holds to collect chunks of ice, then fired them at Vorthak ships at incredible speeds. The ice hit like massive bullets, punching holes in alien hulls. But the most shocking moment came when a group of research ships approached a cluster of Vorthak vessels. Instead of firing weapons, they released clouds of what looked like glitter. What are they doing? Asked Veltar. Dr. Patel was grinning. Nanobots. Self-replicating machines designed for asteroid mining. They're programmed to break down metal and organic compounds. The effect was immediate and horrible. The nanobots swarmed over the Vorthak ships, eating through their hulls like acid. Within minutes, the massive alien vessels were falling apart. That's biological warfare, protested Dr. Finara. No, said Chen coldly. That's extermination. There's a difference. The Vorthak tried to adapt, but they couldn't. They were used to fighting opponents who followed rules, who had limits, who could be reasoned with or intimidated. The humans followed no rules except victory. They couldn't be reasoned with because they had already decided the Vorthak were evil. They couldn't be intimidated because they had chosen to fight regardless of the cost. Ship after ship of the alien fleet fell to human tactics that no sane species would use. Ramming attacks where humans flew their ships directly into enemy vessels. Boarding actions in the vacuum of space. Suicide runs where damaged ships flew into enemy formations and detonated their reactors. "They're all insane," whispered Captain Zilnara. "No," said Veltar quietly. "They're all heroes." The turning point came when Admiral Walsh led a massive assault on the Vorthak command ship. It was a monster the size of a small moon, protected by dozens of escort vessels. Any rational commander would have avoided it. Walsh flew straight at it with 300 ships. The battle around the command ship was the most vicious of the war. Human ships were destroyed by the dozens, but they kept coming. They flew through walls of enemy fire. They rammed escort ships. They boarded the command vessel from every direction. And finally, Admiral Walsh's ship, the Indomitable, reached the command ship's core. His last transmission was simple. "Tell my wife I kept my promise." The Indomitable detonated its reactor inside the Vorthak command ship. The explosion was visible from Earth. With their command ship destroyed, the Vorthak fleet began to fall apart. Without central coordination, they became easy targets for human pack tactics. When the battle ended 12 hours later, the space around Earth was filled with wreckage. Of the nearly 5,000 Vorthak ships that had attacked, fewer than 50 escaped. The 6 months after the Battle of Earth, Dr. Veltar stood in the Great Council Chamber on Harmony Prime. The crystal dome that had once housed only peaceful discussions now echoed with heated debate. The topic was simple: what to do about the humans. The war was over. The Vorthak had been completely destroyed. Not a single alien ship remained in known space. For the first time in galactic history, an aggressive species had been totally eliminated. The Union didn't know whether to celebrate or hide. "They're too dangerous," declared Council Member Kalana from the Beautiful Ones. "Any species that can destroy the Vorthak so completely could destroy us just as easily, but they saved us," protested Dr. Minoth from the Science Council. "Without the humans, the Vorthak would have spread across the galaxy. We all would have died." Council leader Zephyra raised her hand for silence. "Dr. Veltar, you spent the most time with them. What is your assessment?" Veltar looked around the chamber at the representatives of 23 peaceful species. They were all afraid. The humans had shown them something they had forgotten existed: the power of controlled violence. "They are dangerous," Veltar said carefully, "but not to us. I watched them fight. I saw them die to protect strangers. I heard them speak of their children and their hopes for peace. They are not conquerors. They are protectors." "How can you be certain?" asked Kalana. "History shows that warrior species eventually turn on their neighbors." "Because I asked them," said Veltar. "Yesterday I received a communication from Commander Chen. The humans want to address the council." Gasps filled the chamber. No one had expected this. The humans had been silent since the battle, rebuilding their fleet and tending to their wounded. Most council members had hoped they would simply go away. "What do they want?" asked Zephyra, to make an offer. 3 days later, Commander Sarah Chen arrived at Harmony Prime with a small escort of human ships. The vessels were clean and polished, but Veltar could still see the scars of battle on their hulls. The humans were making a statement. They came in peace, but they remembered war. Chen looked different than she had during the fighting. She was still alert and strong, but the desperate edge was gone. She wore a formal uniform instead of battle gear. When she smiled, it reached her eyes. "Dr. Veltar," she said as she stepped off her ship. "Good to see you again. Thank you for arranging this meeting. The council is nervous about speaking with you." Chen laughed, but it was a warm sound now instead of bitter. "I don't blame them. We probably looked pretty scary 6 months ago. You looked like demons from the old stories. Good, that's what we wanted the Vorthak to think. But today I hope we can look like something else." The council chamber had been modified for the human delegation. The atmosphere was adjusted for their breathing needs. The gravity was increased to match Earth normal. Even so, many council members looked uncomfortable as Chen and her team entered. Chen stood before the assembled representatives and bowed in the human manner. "Honored Council, I am Commander Sarah Chen of Earth. I speak for all humanity when I say we are grateful for this opportunity." Council leader Zephyra spoke carefully. "Commander Chen, your species has demonstrated remarkable military capability. The Council wishes to understand your intentions regarding the Galactic Union." "That's why I'm here," said Chen, "to make you an offer, and to ask for something in return." "What do you want from us?" asked Kalana suspiciously. Friendship, said Chen simply. Trade, cultural exchange, the chance to learn from your sciences and arts. We've spent so long fighting that we've forgotten how to build beautiful things. The council members looked confused. This wasn't what they had expected from a warrior species. And what do you offer in return? Asked Dr. Minoth. Chen's expression became serious. Protection. We offer to be your guardians. The chamber erupted in nervous whispers. Guardian was a concept that hadn't existed in Union space for thousands of years. Explain, said Zafara. Chen activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. For 3,000 years, you've built a wonderful civilization. Art, science, philosophy, trade. You've created something beautiful among the stars. But beauty needs protection. She pointed to various areas on the map. There are threats out there. The Vorthak weren't the only aggressive species in the galaxy. Our long-range scouts have detected at least 3 other hostile civilizations. They're not moving yet, but they will. Aggressors always do. What are you proposing? Asked Zafara. A partnership. You continue to govern trade, diplomacy, and cultural matters. We establish a guardian fleet to protect Union space from external threats. Any military action would require council approval. Any new contact with unknown species would be handled jointly. Dr. Veltar stood up. Commander Chen, may I ask a personal question? Of course, why do you want to do this? You could easily conquer the Union if you chose. Why offer to serve instead? Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice carried the weight of loss and hope. 6 months ago, my daughter asked me a question. She said, Mommy, why do the bad aliens want to hurt people? I told her that some beings choose to cause pain, but others choose to prevent it. She asked which one we were going to be. Chen looked around the chamber at the peaceful aliens. We've seen what we can destroy. Now we want to find out what we can protect. We want to be the kind of people our children can be proud of. But violence is wrong, protested Kelana. Surely there are peaceful solutions to these problems. Colonel Martinez, who had come with Chen's delegation, spoke up. Ma'am, with respect, that's what the Vorthak were counting on. They knew you wouldn't fight back. That made you easy prey. There are beings in this galaxy who only understand strength, added Dr. Patel. We can be that strength, used in service of your values instead of against them. Council leader Zafara considered the proposal. What guarantees do we have that you won't turn this power against us? Chen smiled. None except our word. But I can tell you this, we've learned something from you. Before meeting the Union, humans thought all aliens were either enemies or potential enemies. You showed us that some beings choose cooperation over conflict. You gave us something to aspire to. She gestured to Dr. Veltar. Your people taught us that strength without wisdom is just destruction. We want to combine our strength with your wisdom. We want to build something neither of us could create alone. The debate continued for 3 days. Some council members remained opposed to any military alliance. Others worried about setting a precedent. But eventually a consensus emerged. Dr. Veltar cast the deciding vote. The humans saved us once. Perhaps it's time to trust them to do it again. The Guardian Accords were signed 1 month later. The humans established a fleet dedicated to protecting Union space. The first Guardian station was built at the edge of known territory, where human ships could watch for threats while Union scientists studied distant stars. The arrangement wasn't perfect. Cultural differences led to misunderstandings. Some species remained afraid of their new protectors. Some humans chafed at the restrictions placed on their military actions, but it worked. 2 years later, when the hegemony of Razak invaded Union space with a fleet of conquest, they met the Guardian fleet at the border. The battle was brief and decisive. The humans had learned from fighting the Vorthak. They were faster, stronger, and more ruthless than any enemy the galaxy had seen. But what surprised everyone was what happened after the battle. Instead of destroying the defeated hegemony ships, the humans offered their crews a choice: return home and never threaten Union space again, or face complete destruction. The hegemony chose to retreat. Word spread quickly that the Union was no longer defenseless. Other aggressive species began to avoid Union territory. Dr. Veltar, now serving as the Union's liaison to the Guardian fleet, watched the change with fascination. The galaxy was becoming a safer place, not through the elimination of violence, but through the careful application of it. The humans had kept their word. They protected without conquering. They served without ruling. And slowly, they began to change. Human children grew up on Union worlds, learning alien languages and customs. Human artists collaborated with Union masters to create new forms of beauty. Human scientists worked alongside alien researchers to unlock the secrets of the universe. In return, the Union learned that courage came in many forms. They discovered that sometimes protecting the innocent required difficult choices. They found that peace was not the absence of conflict, but the presence of those willing to fight for what was right. 5 years after first contact, Dr. Veltar stood in the garden of New Harmony Station, watching human and alien children play together. The human children were learning Union Harmony songs. The alien children were playing human games that involved strategy and friendly competition. Commander Chen, now Admiral Chen, joined Veltar by the fountain. "Penny for your thoughts?" she said, using a human expression the alien had learned to appreciate. "I was thinking about change," said Veltar. "When we first met, I thought you were demons. Now I watch your children sing our songs and I realize we were both right and wrong about each other." "How so?" "You are capable of terrible violence, but you choose to use it in service of beauty and peace. We are dedicated to harmony and understanding, but we learned